Hello, beautiful, and welcome to Module 3, Lesson 3. Let's keep going. Okay, so Module 3, just a quick reminder, we are really getting magnetic in this module. We're learning how to activate our inner magnet so that all the things we desire are drawn to us. So remember, it's not about going out there and trying to grab a hold of the things you want and drag them into you. It's the opposite. It is holding yourself in the vibration, in alignment that matches the reality you desire, and then allowing the things on the outside of you to start to shift and rearrange themselves until you create that new reality. So in lesson 1, we kept it really simple. And we talked about how powerful our emotions are, and that emotions really are the easy hack into the system, the very simple way that you know exactly whether you're on a high vibration or not. And when you're on a high vibration, you are in alignment with the greater part of you. And that high vibration pulls that whole thoughts become things cycle in line to follow. So all you really need to do is to start on a high vibration and stay there. And figure out ways of practicing that, getting better and better and better at it, so that you can start to create a new set point, a new normal for you, which sounds pretty easy. In fact, it's really simple, but it's not necessarily easy because it does really take that persistence, perseverance, that real level of commitment and the immersion that we keep talking about, which is why it's so important to have this community, to have this group who's got your back, who understands what you're doing, who's going to support you, and to stay really, really, really connected to that group, to stick close to your accountability buddy, to keep posting, to just keep moving forward. In lesson 2, we talked about really seizing the power of every single moment and understanding and remembering that you can intend how you feel. You do not need to let things on the outside of you dictate to you how you're going to feel. You can start flipping that around and you start setting the tone of how you feel. And as you do that and as you set that intention, the things on the outside of you start to match your feeling place more and more and more. So in that lesson, we went through a few processes to help you set really clear intentions, to help you get started in a high vibing place and to stay there so that you can become used to living in that higher state of vibration. And this happens incrementally. It happens with consistency and persistence and immersion. You will incrementally keep inching up higher and higher and higher into a new normal, a new normal, a new normal. And one day you look back and you think, oh my goodness, I have some vague memory of having been a person who used to stress and worry and spend her days feeling quite miserable a lot of the time. And it almost seems like a dream, because when you have changed your personality, your state of being at that unconscious level, at that cellular vibrational level, you will find it very hard to relate back to the person you used to be, because it will no longer be you. And this lesson is very exciting because we're going to tap into the power of your heart to start creating that new reality. So this stuff really ramps it up. So remember, we want to create a stable basis. We want to invoke law of attraction to help us raise our vibration and keep building and building and building in a really stable way. And then we can start adding things that really turbocharge it, such as what we're going to do today. So this quote by Doc Childre really sums it up, and we're going to talk about the work of the Heart Math Institute quite a bit in this lesson. The message of the heart becomes clearer when the mind is quiet, and in order to truly quiet the mind, we need to bring the head into alignment with the heart. That is what we'll be doing this lesson. So remember this quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza, which really sums up all our work. And it is that your personality determines your personal reality. What is your personality? It's really just the sum of your thoughts, your words, and your actions. It's who you are being. It's who you are being right now. And the thing to remember is that the person you are today is not a match to the things that you want to have in your future. If you were a match, they'd be in your present reality already. So you have to start becoming that future version of you and cause the effect, cause the reality on the outside of you to start shifting, rather than living through what most people do, cause and effect, where they look at the reality outside of them, they react to it. It actually trains and determines their personality. And so all they do is they do keep creating, because we are creators in every moment of every day. They do keep creating, but what they keep creating is just the same over and over and over again. It's like they're stuck in a revolving door or in Groundhog Day, and it's just the same again and again and again. So they think that nothing changes, but in fact, it is constantly being recreated. Reality is constantly being recreated and responding to your vibration. The difference is your vibration shifting? Is who you are being changing? Or is it staying the same? Because if it's staying the same, the reality that you're continually recreating is the same as you just had. And that's why, for most people, nothing much really changes. Okay, so we are going to start rehearsing your new personality, that evolved version of you. And that's a matter of both training the mind and preparing the body. When you visualize, which we've already done and talked about, and you know exactly how to do it, your frontal lobe lights up and it connects to the entire brain. And your brain actually in that moment does not know the difference between what is real and what is imagined, between what you're actually living and what you are visualizing. So by visualizing, you are training your mind into what the reality you're creating right now is. And your brain does not know the difference. That's why people can visualize practicing the piano and improve, because their brain does not know the difference. Now, your body really is the unconscious mind, because it acts based on memorized patterns of thought, of behavior and emotion. And what you've got to remember and understand is that your body is chemically addicted to certain patterns. It has a usual standard everyday biochemical signature. So when you start changing that, when you start to live in the future, you're actually preparing your body for a new reality. And so that is why when you sit down to do your visualization, it is so important to actually bring the feeling, the emotion into it, because that is that chemical signature. And you want to start training your body into a new biochemical signature, into a new set of chemistry that is its predominant way of being, its predominant state. And that is what starts to shift those memorized patterns, and you start creating the new pattern. And your personality then shifts, because your personality, remember, it's nothing but the sum of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and the way you tend to act. So as you start shifting that, then your reality can too. So when we get these two actually working together in unison, in coherence, when we have the mind and the body on the same wavelength, working together, that is when you get maximum power. And that is when you actually make contact with the quantum field. And at that quantum level, you are creating reality. You are instructing that field. So that is what we'll talk about today, actually getting into that coherent state. And you will remember in the last lesson, I talked about the HeartMath Institute's study that was done with the meditating monks holding the vials of DNA. And it was only when they managed to get into coherence between the intention, the thought, and the feeling, the vibration, that is when they managed to have an effect, a very demonstrated, clear effect on the DNA. But when it was just one or the other, there really was no significant difference. So this coherence, this getting the two working in unison, working together, is all powerful. Now, your heart is actually like its own little brain. and it acts independently of the rest of your body. There's a cluster of about 40,000 neurons. They're pretty much brain cells, and they are located right there in the heart. Now, they are what sends all those signals of intuition and precognition up to the cranial brain. So the Heart Math Institute, again, they do all these amazing experiments where, you flash up slides in front of people, and initially the brain is telling the rest of the body what's going on, and the brain fires first, and then the body responds depending on, your physical and emotional response to some of those pictures. But after a while, as the heart and the brain start to work together more and more and become more coherent, the heart actually fires first. And in fact, not just first, it fires before the picture is flashed up on the screen, so that people actually start tapping into that intuition, into that precognition. And that's incredibly powerful. Now, this little heart brain actually sends more signals, even in everyday life, up to your cranial brain than vice versa. The heart is incredibly powerful. It has a magnetic field that we are able to measure up to 8 feet from the body, and we believe that it extends much further than that. We're just not able to measure it yet because we don't have the technology. And you kind of know this too, because when you walk into a room and someone's in a really foul mood, you feel it instantly. And that is that heart brain acting, that field, touching somebody else's field and knowing what's going on. Now, your heart is incredibly powerful. It has that really powerful signal, and it has its own independent little brain. And it does instruct the mind. When you have that heart in a state of coherence, in a calm, stress-free state, where your heart rhythms are actually smooth, where there's not a lot of noise in the signal. So I want you to imagine, the wave of the heartbeats being graphed. And when somebody's under stress, just like in the graph on the left, it's a really noisy little signal. It does go up and down, but there's a lot of up and down jaggedy bits within that bigger wave. And that's that stressed state. That's an incoherent rhythm, an incoherent signal. And when we put that person into a higher vibration, into a state of love, appreciation, into all those high vibing states, the heart rhythms actually smooth out. Now, physiologically, that has huge benefits for your body. But what it also then does is it pulls the brain into a coherent state, and the two start to actually beat together. The two signals start to smooth out and actually work coherently. So rather than one being all over the place compared to the other, they're actually working in unison. And so that is when your electromagnetic signal becomes coherent and powerful and actually communicates with the quantum field. So your heart is incredibly powerful, and what we're going to do is just use that to our advantage. We're going to get high vibing, and this is why getting into a high vibrational state is so powerful. We all know that is what we need to do. We all intuitively know that when we feel good, all good things can happen. And so now I've just given you a little bit more of a biochemical and neurological basis for that understanding. But what we want to do is we want to get high vibing, pull the whole system in with us, and just keep it simple and easy, but make it very powerful, because it is extremely powerful. It's just a matter of remembering that it's there for us. So remember also that law of attraction will create the momentum for you, and you just need to worry about getting started. Once you get started on a high vibration, on a good vibe, the universe will jump in really fast and help you gather momentum, because that high vibration, that is the pure potential energy of the entire universe. The entire universe is looking for growth, for expansion, for, even more wonderful things to be created. And so when you're in a low vibrational state, when you're in a state of fear or stress or worry, it's like that whole time you're kind of you're building a dam, or you're trying to keep the door shut on that flow of infinite potential that's looking to grow and build and evolve. And so all that resistance has been building up, building up, building up. And that's why it feels so lousy to feel lousy, because you are so out of sync. So it's like you've got this amazing amount of water, for, just to give you a visual of water trying to flow through a gate, and you're pushing against it, trying to hold it shut because you're so determined to feel bad, and the pressure builds and builds and builds, and so you feel worse and worse and worse, and you get tired and you get worn out. But as soon as you release the resistance, get out of the way, stop trying to hold that gate shut, it is ready, and baby, it's going to flow fast. So all you need to do is to get started, because the flow is always there. It is all powerful. And that's what we'll focus on again today. We're going to focus on getting started and knowing that as long as you get started and hold that initial vibration, that positive frequency, then law of attraction kicks in and brings you the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because you are then in harmony with the laws of the universe. And what we're also going to do is really look for opportunities when we can milk that, when we can seize an opportunity of a high vibration and amp it up, because the more frequently you do it, the more you practice doing it, the easier it becomes. And the more frequently you do it, the more it just becomes your natural state, which means it becomes even easier again. And so it just builds and builds and builds. So when you naturally find yourself in a high vibing state, when life brings you some evidence, or you just suddenly go, wow, I'm feeling fantastic, and I haven't even done my effectology method processes, I'm just here, just by pure coincidence, then what you want to do is take full advantage of that moment and use it to build even more momentum, because this is about becoming stable and becoming comfortable and really reaching that new set point of operating at a much higher vibration most of the time. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to practice heart coherence. Now, there's a really quick coherence method, and in this module, you have a meditation that leads you through it. And there are really only 3 steps. I won't demonstrate it here in the lesson. I'll let you listen to the meditation. There are only 3 steps, and this creates that state of heart coherence that we've talked about. This creates that beautiful coherent state in your heart, which then pulls your brain in, and so your whole body winds up in that beautiful coherent state where you can then actually communicate with the field, with the quantum field. The 3 steps are, number 1, focusing on the heart to begin with, actually taking your attention there. Now, I like to do it, and I recommend you also do it, by actually touching that space, between your breasts, right there, that little hollow in the center of your chest, whether you put your fingers there or just a palm or cross your hands over it. Take your attention there. Signal to your physiology that this is where your focus is going to go right now. Because remember, what you focus on expands, and where your attention goes, your energy flows. And this is what we want to do here. And then you're going to start doing some heart-focused breathing. So with your hand on that space, on your heart, all you're going to do is you're going to start breathing consciously and deliberately, a little bit slower, a little bit more consciously than normal. So maybe in for a count of 5 or 6, short pause, and then out for a count of 5 or 6, and a brief pause again. Not forcing it, just enjoying it, just slowing things down a little bit. And that starts to create that much smoother heart rhythm, where if I put you onto an ECG, we would be able to measure that and see your heart rhythm start to smooth out. Now, the next step is the really important one. You've done some great work up to this point, but the next one is the one that really brings your whole system, your whole state of being into coherence. And that is invoking a high vibrational feeling and adding that to the mix. So as you continue just easily breathing through your heart space, I want you to then invoke a really high vibrational feeling. Appreciation usually works for me. And you can think of things from your life, maybe in the last 24 hours, that you really appreciate, or you can just set an intention to feel the feeling of appreciation, because you do know what it feels like, or the feeling of love, whatever feels right. But go for that high emotional feeling and keep expanding it through that heart space with each breath in and each breath out, and allow it to keep growing stronger, bigger, gently. Allow it, not force it. And keep this up for about 3 minutes. And by the end of that, you will know that you're in a coherent state, because you will feel amazing. And I want to hear from you in the Facebook group the moment that you have practiced this for the first time. And I want you to really break it down and really explain how you feel, because this is a very important moment for you to reach this place of coherence, because this is going to be a very powerful process for you to keep using as you move forward. Now, the other thing is a little bit more active than the heart coherence meditation, and has a little bit more energy. So the heart coherence meditation is very calm, very beautiful, and it just puts you into a beautiful high vibing place. And it's a great way to start the day. So the heart coherence meditation only takes 2 to 3 minutes. And I really recommend that you do it every morning before you get out of bed. So we talked about start high and stay high. This is an amazing way to start high and to really start bulletproofing yourself. So I really recommend that you do it first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. Now, the rampage of appreciation, again, is an Abraham Hicks process. And it's a way of milking those opportunities. So when you find yourself during the day just going, wow, I feel great, I'm just loving life, you take advantage. So the way it works is, number one, choose a subject. So notice what's going on and that you're feeling great, whether it's the weather or the sunshine or just feeling really comfortable, whatever it is, and help the momentum build. So we've already talked about waking in appreciation, which is a bit of a gentler process. In the waking in appreciation, I've asked you to just hold that first thought and really let it build, let it amp up, and allow the next thought to come and join it. Here, you are a little bit more proactive with it. So you might start with, oh, wow, I just love sitting in this sunshine. It just feels amazing. I love sitting in the sunshine. Now, this is a process where you're going to be a little bit more in your head as well. And you can do this out loud, which is really powerful. If you're driving, that's really great. Or if you're, walking through the bush, that's also a really great opportunity to do this rampage of appreciation. Or just do it quietly inside your head. So you start, and then you go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I want you to really pay attention and make sure that vibrationally you're not pushing ahead of where you're comfortable. So this is a really great process for you to notice when you're introducing resistance by trying to push too hard, too fast. So you might start with, oh, wow, I just love, and you can just decide to do one without even, sorry, I'm digressing, but you can notice something and catch yourself in the moment, and that's how I ultimately want you to do it. But when you're going to do this to practice, you're going to just pick something, because there's always something around to appreciate, and you're going to allow that to get you started. So, for example, you're doing it with your buddy and you're just doing a practice run. And so you might go, you know what? I just love the way that the sun knows how to rise every morning. It's something that we never really think about. And there it is. Just every morning, it knows to rise. It knows what to do. The earth knows how to spin. All the planets know how to keep their orbit. And we don't have to think about it. And that's something that we take so for granted. And it's so important. And I so appreciate that this happens, because this allows us to have seasons, to have plants that grow and are nourished, to have food to eat. I love that we have food to eat. I love that we live on a planet that grows our food. I love that we live on a planet where we know how to grow our food and how to grow all different types of food, and we all kind of work together and help make sure that people have the food that they want. And we have enough food to actually feed the entire planet. And see, now I've managed to get myself onto a topic that's going to be loaded with resistance, because I'm thinking about, all the people that don't have enough food to eat. So that will happen for you as well. So then you just back off a little bit and you go, and you know what? What I love is I know this planet can feed everybody. And I know that there are people who care enough. And I love that there are people who care enough and who know how to make it happen, and they're working on it. I love that we actually have the ability, because the first thing we need is we need the ability. We need to know that we can feed everybody, because if we couldn't feed everybody, then we'd really have a problem. And I love that we have these smart people on this planet who know how to do these things, because I know how to do some things, but there are so many things I don't even know how to do. There are so many things that help my life, and I'm relying on other people who know what to do so that I can have that thing in my life. So many things. I've got a roof over my head and I don't know how to build a house. I've got running water and I don't know how to set up the plumbing or do any of the things that help that water get all the way into my house. I love that I have soap to wash myself with. And there are people who know how to make it and how to bottle it and how to get it into the shop. And all I need to do is pick it up. This is really quite a magical planet we live on. And so see how I managed to get myself out of the poop then and managed to get myself back into building momentum. So I didn't intend to actually give you an example of where you run into trouble, but look, I think it's a good thing it happened, because that will happen for you. So just like with everything else, if you start feeling resistance, what you have to train yourself to do is to back away, go wider, and start coming in again gently and letting law of attraction come to your aid and really start to support you. So that's the rampage of appreciation. So you can just practice it on your own, but I'm also going to get you to practice it with your buddy, because it's great fun and you can really just go nuts, and you can do it on absolutely any subject. So we've got two very different things, but two very, very powerful things, and both very important for you to become a master of. So in the group, what you're going to share is, I want you to, after you've done the heart coherence the first time, use the hashtag coherence, tell us how it went, and tell us what your commitment to practicing this really powerful process to get yourself in that high vibing state in a really powerful way early in the day is. And ideally, like I said, I would love you all to do it before you get out of bed in the morning, just to make it those final 2-3 minutes in bed before you get up. You can just pretend to be asleep. I often do, just so that people will leave you alone. And let us know how it's going as you keep going with it. Let us know whether there is not much to this process, and there's really no reason why there should be any issue with doing it. In fact, what most people notice is that the more they do it, the more powerful it becomes, and the more they love doing it and the more addicted they become to it. And then as buddies, please help each other do a rampage, not a rampagne. I must have been thinking about champagne when I typed that. Help each other do a rampage of appreciation. You can do it as a Facebook Live straight into the group. You can organize to catch up on a Zoom call or on a phone call, whatever you like. But it's really nice to have somebody else there. And what I would like the support buddy to do, so both do one, and the person who is not doing the rampage, who's just listening, your job is to start noticing if they're starting to try and force it. If you feel it, it means you're picking up on them, because remember, coherence, you'll be in that coherent state. And in fact, start your call with a heart coherence practice, because then you two will really be connected and in tune. So when you're feeling it, it's you picking up on them. Trust yourself with that. And if you feel resistance, if you feel a bit uncomfortable, like in my example that I gave, just say to them, back up a little bit. back up a little bit, just like I did. I backed up a little bit and I went a little bit wider, and I found a way to get around the resistance. And then let us know how it went. So if you didn't do it live in the group so that we could enjoy it with you, just let us know how it went and just use the hashtag Rampage of Appreciation so we know what you're talking about. And so it just makes it really nice and easy to kind of know what your post is about. So hashtags are really powerful. Even if sometimes you have to make one up because you're not quite sure what to use hashtags, because it's like a headline. You know, it lets us know what the topic of that post is. Okay, hopefully that's nice and clear, because that's really powerful work you're doing in this lesson. And then on the live call, we'll practice both of those really important things together, heart coherence and rampages of appreciation. We're going to do some. It's really good fun. We can have a laugh, you know, we'll probably screw some up. It's all good, because this is about just committing to the process and becoming better and better and better. And as always, bring me all your general manifesting questions. Start writing them down in your diary, in your calendar, where you've got the call marked, so that you remember them at the time. So as things come up for you during the week, always just mark them in your calendar and ask me on the call, so that I can, you know, give you that live feedback. And if you cannot make the call but you have questions, just post them in the group for me in the 24 hours before the call, and then it's easy for me to answer them on the call anyway. Okay, that is the end of Module 3. How exciting. Now, Module 3 is a really huge, exciting and powerful module, but please do remember that everything we've done leading up to Module 3 really sets the scene and really helps you support yourself throughout this work. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the live call very soon, and then of course in the next lesson when we start Module 4. Bye for now.